Hello and most welcome to 1926 of the series H. We will today continue with Wittgenstein's philosophical investigations by the Austrian philosopher of science, Paul Feyerabend. Last time, 1924, we checked closely into criterions for truthfulness, how to apply truth, reality, and why it's not possible to follow a rule privately. And we also mentioned finitism. Well, not the term finitism, but what finitism is about. Finitism is the idea of the whole series being ended. So the last numeral of pi is already existing. It's already there. But it's called finitism. It means that both the beginning of the world and the end of the world is simultaneously there already. Without anything have to be done. These things will only turn into their absurdity when we look at them very closely. We need really to dwell into them. And in this more careful investigation, we will be able to find out, to discover, to come into the zest of it, the depth of it. So I would say Wittgenstein is, without any comparison, the most challenging thinker whatsoever. And even the fact that he can't even be termed a philosopher, that he makes philosophy go to its roots and see how did it occur from the beginning. Why did philosophy occur? And the result is meaning, understanding, intending, thinking, and as we may add, remembering, loving, hoping, are not mental activities. They are not shut off in that deep hole that is the private language. We are instead deeply ingrained with the world. The world is not separable from us as living in it. And neither can we say that we are some sort of containers. I think you remember Hilary Putnam, Brain in a Vat, or the ideas of René Descartes, that we are, so to speak, cut off from reality. Purely transcendental beings with no groundedness or foundedness in earth. I say this subject is best approached with a good sense of humor. That's the most promising way of going closer to it, using humor, see the fun of it, and I think that's when you can reveal the absurdity of it, or reveal that there's actually some sort of fault at the bottom. And the signpost, thank you, Kalle. The signpost is a very good example. How do you know how to follow a signpost with an arrow going to the right? And it could be assumed that you learned when you see the signpost ticking to the left, you take a right. And this is how you always understood it. So a signpost is not unequivocally clear. No word is univocally clear. They all have ambiguities. And this is very close to Ava Gardner's, sorry, Ava Gardner's The Ozma Problem. It's about chirality, and that chirality cannot be shown to a foreign species like the Ozma people, an invented name for these aliens. It is impossible, even if complete communication were possible with the aliens, we cannot tell them what chirality we are having, whether it's left turned or right turned. It is impossible. The same as Wittgenstein shows goes for all language. No exception for any word. The action, the criterion needs to be there. Just give me a sec, I need to get a snack here. I paused just for a second, sorry. Oh. I will now continue to read where I left off in 1924. And we are at page 475. The last paragraph. And Khalidou, please keep the mood up with your echoes. I think it could be very helpful to cheer up this tired day. It was a bit late yesterday, but let's see here. Let's do the best of it. Apply this to language games in general. It follows that to obey a rule, to make a report, to give an order, to play a game of chess are customs, uses, institutions, and not a hocus pocus.
Hocus pocus.
Yeah. Thanks for cheering up. Not a hocus pocus which can be performed only by the soul.
Soul.
Grand sentence there, without a doubt. To understand a sentence means to understand a language. To understand a language means to master a technique. A technique. And so we are back at the instrumental interpretation of language. Every sign by itself seems dead. What gives it life? In use, it is alive. Is life breathed into them? Into it then? Or is the use its life? Indeed, it's life. And questions of meaning, of understanding, of following a rule are to be treated by taking into account the use of signs within a certain language game. Language game. Thus, we arrive at the following result. According to T, meanings are objects for which words stand. Rules are of a similar ethereal character. Ethereal character. Understanding the meanings, grasping the rules, is an activity of the mind, which is the organ for finding our way about in the realm of meaning, as the senses are organs for finding our way about in the physical world.
Organs.
Organs for the physical world. We found that either there is no representation of the meanings or the rules in the mind, or assuming that a representation does exist, that it cannot determine the way in which we proceed, because there are always many possibilities of interpretation. Interpretation.
Interpretation.
Interpretation. According to T. Wittgenstein, the meaning of the elements of a language game emerges from the use. and that use belongs to a quite different category from a single mental event or a mental process or any process whatever.
Any process, whatever.
I need to bring some humor into this. Now, a sign can be part of a different language games, just as a button can be used in a game of chess instead of a pawn, for instance, which has been lost, or in a game of draughts. Draughts.
Draughts.
Do we try in this case to abstract from the differences between these two kinds of use in order to discover a common quality which will explain to us how it is possible for the button to function both as a pawn and as a piece in draughts.
Draughts.
Draughts, indeed. Indeed. In draughts. The question does not arise because it seems obvious that the button changes its function according to the game within which it is used. Used. But in the case of a language game, theory T seduces us into thinking that the sign 2, for instance, is in any case of its use within language connected with a single element, its meaning, and that the varieties of its use are only superficial aspect, only a superficial aspect. Once this idea has been dropped, once it has been realized that the meaning of a sign is constituted by its use within a certain language game, words can be looked at as the button was above
Button.
Above, above.
Button.
And instead of trying to grasp the essence of a thing, which is to explain the varieties of the use of the sign, which stands for the thing we ought simply to describe, the language game of which the sign is part. The sign is part. It is part.
Part. We must do away with all explanation, and description alone must take its place. Our mistake is to look for an explanation where we ought to look at what happened as a proto-phenomenon. Proto.
Proto-phenomenon.
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 Proto.
That is where we ought to have said this language game is played. Look at the language game as the primary thing, and look on the feelings, etc., as you look on a way of regarding the language game as interpretation. Interpretation.
Interpretation.
Wittgenstein's position has not yet been described correctly.
Correctly.
Correctly. Wittgenstein was said to hold a theory, T. Wittgenstein, which emphasizes the instrumental aspect of language, and which points to use in a language game as the essential thing. And describing the language game, so one is inclined to say, according to the presentation which has been given so far, is the essential thing, is the task of philosophy.
task of philosophy.
The task of philosophy, indeed. Now the humor is coming here. From that description, quite a few philosophical problems will become clear, which seemed hopelessly muddled when seen from the point of view of theory chi. Philosophy then seems to be the theory of language games. A kind of general syntax or semantics in Canop's sense. And T. Wittgenstein seems to be its most important part.
Art.
But according to Wittgenstein, this assumption would involve a misunderstanding. For the supposed theory of language games could do no more than enable people to run through the single moves of a game as a player who's acquainted with the game runs through its moves. Moves or move. But for such a player, there's no problem. If he asks, for instance, how do sentences manage to represent the answer must be, do you not know? You certainly see it when you use them. For nothing is concealed.
Concealed. Nothing is concealed.
Nothing's hidden, nothing's concealed. It's all out there. In plain sight. Everything lies open to view. Philosophy, therefore, may in no way interfere with the actual use of language. It can, in the end, only describe it. It leaves everything as it is.
It leaves everything
as it is.
as it is.
That's definitely the kernel of it. Let us assume that somebody begins to construct a theory of language games. This theory, if formulated in the terms of Wittgenstein, will be thought to serve as an explanation of how meaning is conferred upon single signs by the way in which these signs are incorporated into a language game.
Game.
In the language game. The theory or description, as it may also be called, will involve a new kind of use of terms such as sentence, fact, meaning,
Meaning.
But has a useful explanation or description really been found?
Useful.
We must realize that the supposed theory introduces a new use, and this is important, new use of meaning, fact, sentence, etc. If this use involves even a slight deviation from the use of these words within the language games to be described, the supposed description in fact involves a change in the phenomena to be described. But if, on the other hand, the change is a considerable one, and that is to be expected if one is trying to develop a fully fledged instrumentalist philosophy of meaning. A new language game for the expression sentence, meaning, etc., has been established And the task of describing the given language game is not fulfilled either.
Fulfilled either.
No, it is not. Poor language game. Excuse me. Thus, we must do away with all explanation and with T. Wittgenstein as well. The description, however, which Wittgenstein invites us to give instead of the explanation consists only in putting the things before us and
Only.
and as everything lies open to view, there's nothing to explain. Nothing.
Open to view.
We might therefore say rather hyperbolically that the language disguises thoughts of the Tractatus is now replaced by language is already thought. Nothing is concealed. Nothing. I think that's a perfect stopping point here. I think you'd be happy with that, Kalle.
Yes, yes. So the end is concealed. Concealed. Last word, concealed. Page.
We had 1926.
Page 478. Page 478. So nothing considered is also on the next paragraph, but it is this one with the Tractatus.
Yes, exactly. Are there two ones? Yeah. Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you for pointing out. Actually, put the note wrong here. So when you do philosophy, you are creating something new, and it has no connection to language. It is a language game, all reinvented. So what Wittgenstein does instead of creating a philosophy is describing how we already use language. And everything is already out there. Reminds me a bit about the X-Files. The truth is out there, if you remember. And this is not far from what Wittgenstein is striving at. So to speak, language is already quantum mechanical. It needs nothing added by explanations, because that would be a new language game. It wouldn't touch the actual use. So the only thing that is left for the philosopher or the thinker is only to describe how we already go about when it comes to language. I think that takes a great deal of humor to understand. This is why we put in jokes here.
it is in itself very paradoxical, I'd say. Let's go for some quotes here. The last sentence on 475 was a bit sharp. So the game of chess, or obeying a rule, is not a hocus pocus which can be performed only by the soul. It needs to be done. To understand a sentence, and continuing on next page, means to understand a language. Isn't that fantastic? It is its use that, so to speak, brings life to language. And now we are almost getting warned here. Not warned, but warned. Further down on the second paragraph, about that 10th line. According to Wittgenstein, the meaning of the elements of a language game emerges from their use, and that use belongs to a quite different category from a single mental event or a mental process or any process whatever. So it cannot be reduced or referred to or transferred to, or I would say delegated to be a good word here. It can't be delegated to say it's a mental act somewhere. And of course, this is what Noam Chomsky fails to acknowledge or understand. We go further down, we see a nice quote from 435 at the end of the second paragraph. For nothing is concealed. Everything lies. You need to go to the next page, 477. Down there on the second paragraph. Yeah, there you get it. Thank you. For nothing is concealed. Everything lies open to view. Philosophy, therefore, may in no way interfere with the actual use of language. It can, in the end, only describe it. It leaves everything as it is, indeed. So nothing changes, it describes and helps us to understand, bringing light to the confused situation, helping our humans out of the enigma, which is philosophy. Wittgenstein often calls that showing the way out of the fly glass for the fly. That narrow, almost
Klein bottle like look coming out there and be liberated. This is what Wittgenstein is striving for. And to make this even clearer, we can go to the last sentence of this page, 477. That will continue on the next page. What will happen if we persist with T to make a philosophy? The following will happen. We must realize that the supposed theory introduces a new use of meaning, fact, sentence, etc. If this use involves even a slight deviation from the use of these words within the language games to be described, the supposed description in fact involves a change in the phenomena to be described. So, an explaining philosophy that explains the use of the words will not be founded in language itself. We'll be flying above and constructing something different, new, never to enter into language. I think this could be compared to solo scrittura. That's creating a new language game. It never enters into the Bible. It gives an explanation for the use of the word, meaning, purpose, and so on, fact, as examples say, sentence, thereby creating a new language game that never enters, having its own rules. And I like this at the end here. The end of this paragraph. We might therefore say, rather hyperbolically, that the language disguises thoughts of the Tractatus is now replaced by language is already thought. Nothing is concealed. It's all out there. Language is already working its things. It has its rules, and nothing can be added or taken away. Isn't that great? We enter into the real world again. Kalle, please come and join.
Thank you. Let's go to page 476. 476. So 2 months ago, in connection with another paper by about Wittgenstein, we discussed this phrase, and I made I think a discovery. I think there is a clear reference to the letter of Jacob. Letter of Jacob. Interlinear. Let me see. Chapter 1. Let's see. So it's a paraphrase of a thing that you find in the letter of James. So every sign by itself seems dead, and so forth. Let me see. I think it's a line. Let me see. Let me see. Okay, so 9 James. every is dead. Let me see. Yeah, yes, it was chapter 2. So you remember in the Renaissance there was the great battle of minds. On the one side you had Luther, on the other side you had Erasmus, defending the Catholic
Erasmus of
point of
Rotterdam, no?
view. Yes, so they were battling against each other. And I think that Wittgenstein is the new Erasmus.
Ah, yeah.
Let me see. Yeah,
Like
no.
that.
Let me see. Yeah, let me go down here. So let me go a few lines. Let me go verse 21. No, why don't survive? Yes, okay, 17. Verse 17 is it. So verse 17. So yes. So is faith, if it doesn't have works, it is dead by itself.
Oh, how great. Yeah, yeah.
So this is actually a verse that we should memorize because I think it sums up the whole late Wittgenstein.
Yeah, definitely.
James
Very
2:17. And so the point is that you need works. So sign here in this Wittgenstein's definition is the word is actually the
use.
is the faith or no is no sign is like the word itself, like the sola scriptura. It's itself dead. It's you need the usage, the erga. It needs the erga, that is the works.
It has erga, eshi erga.
And in Wittgenstein's definition is the use. Use is the erga. Signs are these pointers that you that are only silly concepts with silly concepts definitions.
Yeah, you can, if I may say, you
Yes.
can compare that to the signpost to chirality.
Mm.
You know, chirality only works when you do it. It's impossible to have chirality without doing it. And the same goes for signpost, and the same goes for the whole of language, according to Wittgenstein.
Yes, it's so let me go to something else. It's on the next is about this example with the grocery shop. And some time ago, I heard somebody give an example. What is a truth for you? And this person said that 1 + 1 is truth. It might seem correct, but we know, thanks to Wittgenstein, that it's not correct.
No.
Because if you think about it, if you go to a grocery shop and ask for 2 apples, we know that one could be a small apple, the other could be a big one. So there are only roughly 2. So there are not. So truth is always like it's not absolute in that sense. Here you have the truth in absolute sense, but it's in an abstraction.
Yeah.
Without any connections to the real world.
No, without the doing, without the actual rules, with nothing to support it.
Apples, yummy, yummy.
Yeah, apples are good.
And let me go to one last thing. My favorite word from today's lecture was proto-phenomenon. Sounds fun.
Okay.
Sounds fun. And we could say it's a synonym of original, the concept of original.
Oh yeah, yes, of course, yes,
And
definitely. Yeah. Good.
and the Bible critics, scholars, they always look for the original text, this illusory original, but they are on the wrong track completely, as we can see in this text. Because instead, what should these Bible critics be doing? They should instead ask or say, how is this language game played? So the original thing is the photo phenomenon is irrelevant.
Yeah.
It's like an illusion, the desert, hallucination. That is putting these Bible scholars on the wrong track.
Yes, it does actually. It's creating a new language game that doesn't touch the Bible or have anything to do with the Bible.
So proto-phenomenon sounds so nice.
Yeah, I thought you were gonna like it.
Like as you Hans have observed in the past, that Bible scholars and many other humanists, they like to baptize, give new names, new definitions instead of. And this could be our new definition of proto-phenomenon.
It's not bad.
But I would like to give the word to our third guest. I don't know if she wants to, Miriam wants to say something. Whatever we might enter. Do we have a third guest?
Please. Yeah, sure. He's more than welcome to join.
Please.
Yeah, thanks for making this so entertaining. And thanks for presenting. Thank you for all the inputs, Kalle. I would rather not join today. I expected the other lecture you mentioned to me. Yes, exactly. No. He told me that it's going to be Feyerabend today.
It is Feyerabend.
Okay.
It's an article by Feyerabend called Philosophical Investigations from 1955.
Okay. I have it opened and I have downloaded, but I thought that this is Wittgenstein's Philosophical Investigations.
No, it's written by Paul Feyerabend.
Okay. So I will have no inputs here because like I'm just taking your presentation. Sorry.
No, it's quite all right, Mirja. It's very hard to jump into this very complicated article as well, and we try to do it with humor. It's so dense, it's so heavy. So Kalle is echoing me, and we bring in laughter into the whole thing, and I think that did actually do the trick for understanding both Feyerabend and Wittgenstein here.
And it's actually very nice to follow when you are doing it. So
thank you, Mirja. It's a bit, if you get too serious with Feyerabend / Wittgenstein, you lose track completely. It doesn't cope well with seriousness. It needs a light heart.
Exactly. It reminds me a bit like while I'm hearing, I have to be honest, I haven't read the article. It reminds me a bit, the way these methods Wittgenstein presents, more like of a method of falsification or verification, and then as being intersubjective with all of this rather than objective.
Yeah, definitely.
And this, like maybe what I'm getting, the important element is in all of this is like when we incorporate other people into this language thing, it's like we are only able to say like whether or not they are playing or we are playing the language game correctly and nothing else. Like
yeah, definitely, Mirja. Wittgenstein, he met Wittgenstein as well, Feyerabend, and it was I think his life and his career took a different turn after that. And Feyerabend was always the one who said, we have to go down into CERN and do the Higgs boson particle. They are done by hands. Human beings are there making it. The
Wow.
doings are always entering into things.
Wow. Yeah, this carves the joints of the world in a very different way.
Hmm.
It's a sort of a like when when verification seems to be a somewhat sort of arbitrary criterion, which is not clear. And you know, I'm never sure if I should put more belief into into the claims when I'm just like stating something language-wise.
Yeah.
You know, in a sense of this weak level of verification versus the claims.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
In a sense of this method of verification beyond what's, you know, appearing to be as such.
Yeah, definitely. And as you might know, Wittgenstein also met, Feyerabend also met Niels Bohr. And that also changed everything. Niels Bohr was very much into that doing, that science in the bottom is doing. You do it by your hands, like a hand job. And since the description changes reality, also an insight coming from Niels Bohr, we are constantly interacting. So it's not like the world doesn't change. Well, the world becomes completely different from what sort of description we do to the world.
And then the knowledge isn't always supposed to result in the claims that are designated into knowledge, also because of that interaction.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a bold claim, but from what as much as I understand Bohr, this is what I understand from him.
Yeah, definitely. It's interactive, and it fits very nice with these last year 3 quantum physicists were awarded the Nobel Prize, and they show that retrocausality is a possibility. You can actually change the past.
As well.
Yeah.
Besides the present.
Yeah. So.
And the future.
Exactly. And of course, give it a new description and you get a different past. Completely.
and then always everything will vary by the language game.
Yeah. That's a bit how it is.
With this paper, we are killing 2 birds with 1 stone. That is 2 great thinkers of this past century, Wittgenstein and Feyerabend.
Yeah.
And this in January we are celebrating 100 years of the birth of Feyerabend.
Yeah, he indeed was a great man, Feyerabend. Definitely. That's going to be a celebration. He was actually, Feyerabend was my great helper with Wittgenstein, where I've been too serious, not laughing and trying to understand Wittgenstein. It always failed me, but with the good humor of Paul Feyerabend, it was actually possible. So I have a lot of gratitude towards Paul.
And then we have the following month we have a celebration of his birthday also. Since there will be 40 years after his death, I think. 94. So there will next year will be a Feyerabend year, I think.
Yeah. And we can celebrate both him and Wittgenstein and the development of an understanding theory or understanding way of approaching quantum mechanics. Most definitely.
And his most famous work was published when I was born, 1975.
Oh yeah, indeed.
I guess method. Mhm.
Yeah, great. Thank you,
Let's end
everyone.
there. Thank you, thank you.
Yeah, do you have anything else to say, Kalle? You want to
No,
add
let's end there.
something?
I memorized this James 2:17 because it summarizes the whole late Wittgenstein, I would say.
It was very good, yeah. Otos kei piotis ean mi esci erga necra estin. By itself. Kaf eaftin. Very good.
By itself. You remember the text by itself, so you have it
Very good.
in post texts.
Thank you very much for that, Kalle. Thank you, Media, also for your excellent comments. Thank you for participating. Everyone listening in and watching, have a beautiful morning, day, or afternoon, wherever you are. Bye-bye for now.
Same to you. Bye. Thank you very
Bye.
much.
Thank you. Bye.